Okay, we're on our last section of the non-questions.
Everything that happens during an interview counts. And sometimes the thing that dooms you isn't your responses to the questions, but something that happens in between the questions and answers. For example, when you enter the interview location, the first person you might see is a receptionist. How you greet and treat the receptionist matters. The employer could ask the receptionist his or her opinion on your entrance. Even a simple tour of the business is part of the interview process. For example, when taking a tour, if you ignore the support staff and only make eye contact or speak to those in positions of power, the employer might think you're not a team player and may not be a good fit.
Your job interview begins from the moment you step in the office area, and that includes administrative assistants, janitors. The employer might step out in the hallway and ask the administrative assistant, did this candidate speak with you? What did he or she say? Were you impressed? You never know who can weigh in on the decision for you to be hired or not to be hired.
Perhaps you are at lunch and you have very bad table manners. This reflects very badly on the employee. Should you be taking a client to lunch where someone sees you drinking alcohol at lunch? These are all things that you would want to avoid during the interview.
One of the last questions.
Okay, so here's your Tershman tips. This is after number 34. If you happen to have an interview over a meal, which happens more when you're into the career type jobs versus, Target or whatever, you want to make sure to order things that are easy to chew and swallow. And you also don't want to order anything that's going to be big and messy. So, you probably don't want to get the double cheeseburger or barbecue ribs. Those things are going to be messy. And if you order a salad, it makes sense to have a salad. But then if you think about it, you really don't want a salad because you're chewing. Salad requires a lot of chewing. And the whole point of an interview is to be able to talk. So you probably want to avoid that. Something that's easy to cut up into small pieces is good. So maybe, like chicken or you also don't want to get the most expensive thing on the menu because if you're spending someone else's money, you want to be respectful that you're not spending the most expensive thing on the menu. She says avoid alcohol. That's number 35. Never drink alcohol. So obviously for when you're older, but if they offer you alcohol, you're always going to decline because they might be testing you to see if you are a person who would drink on the job. Even if they are ordering an alcoholic beverage themselves, a glass of wine or whatever, you're going to order an iced tea or diet soda or something non-alcoholic because sometimes it is a test.
You might be asked on a job interview is, do you have any questions for me? Never say no, because it looks like you are not interested in the job. Instead, consider asking one of these questions. Where do you see this business going in the next 5 years? What are the most important qualities you look for in an employee? How would you describe your management style? This is not the time to ask about the salary and compensation package. Hold those types of questions for when you have an actual job offer.
It's kind of an unwritten rule that you don't talk about money in the interview. It's considered in poor taste. Obviously, you're there because you want money. Duh, we all want the money. That's a given. But talking about how much money, this is not the time or place. After they make the offer, that's when you get to talk about money.
Use this as an opportunity to restate why you're the best candidate. It's also a good time to specifically ask for the job. For example, closing with something like, that's why I'd very much like to join your company in this position.
Okay, your Tershman tip. Number 38 is always ask for the job. I mean, a lot of interviewees make the mistake of saying thank you and leaving, and then they don't know where they stand. So my Tershman tip for you is to always ask an open-ended question so that the interviewer can't say no. So instead of saying, well, are you interested in hiring me? That's very easy for them to say no, thank you. If you take control of the situation by asking them an open-ended question, you're taking control and you're also getting more information out of them. For example, I'm very interested in this position. When should I follow up with you? That gives you a time frame. Then you know that they're going to make a decision on Thursday, and then if they say, well, we're going to decide Thursday morning, then you say, well, would you prefer I call you, or would you prefer that I email you? And then you know. And if you didn't get the job, you can move on. And if you did get the job, you know by Thursday or whatever day. And then you can plan to start. And so it shows a confidence. It shows that you're taking control.
The biggest mistakes people make occurs after the interview is over, not sending a thank you note. Take a few minutes to send a brief note of thanks and appreciation to the interviewer. A simple act like this could help make you stand out among other candidates.
In the note, and did you notice she wrote a handwritten note? No email, no printed, like on a printer, handwritten. So you might want to go someplace like TJ Maxx or Home Goods or one of those places, Marshalls. A lot of those places sell, just generic blank cards. They don't even have to say thank you. They can just be a picture of something nice. And you want to state in there something from the interview that was outstanding. I'm so glad to have met you. I really appreciated that we discussed blah, blah, blah. And what this does for you, that's your Tershman tip. Mention something from the interview. And in the thank you note, you want to always send the thank you note the same day. So if your interview's in the morning, write the note in the afternoon and take your buns to the post office and mail it the same day. And it's very important that you include the zip code extension because that actually delivers the mail much faster. I did an experiment with my mom who lives out in the desert. I sent her two things, one with the zip code extension and one without. The one with the zip code extension got there the next day. The one without it took 3 days. It also shows that you're a person who pays attention to details. So it shows that you're a person who pays attention to details, and it also reminds the interviewer why you are the best candidate. So my last thought on the thank you note is you kind of have to consider that the people doing the hiring, especially with the higher level jobs, are old school. They're my age. They're not your age. So you guys kind of have to go old school with the handwritten note and stuff. And that just shows that you're aware, and it really, really does make you stand out as someone who knows how to play the game and play it well. So no more notes, but here's kind of a recap.
As a quick recap, let's review what not to do on your next job interview. Don't arrive late, make excuses, or share irrelevant information. Don't show up unprepared to discuss skills and experiences. Don't give answers that are overly brief or overly long. Don't offer too much personal information, especially things employers are prohibited from asking. Don't speak negatively of coworkers or bosses. Don't ask about a salary and compensation package too early. And please remember to turn off your cell phone. Now that you know what interview questions to anticipate, prepare your answers before the interview. Following these guidelines is not a magic formula for getting a job, but it will greatly improve your chances. If you follow these tips, you'll be less likely to make the mistakes we watched in this video. You're now ready for your next job interview. Good luck.